Good evening. Welcome to the National News Broadcast. I'm Kasuni Balachandra.
I'm Uvin Hettiarachi and here are today's headlines. The President instructs health officials to give the booster vaccine dose to all above 60 years through mobile services. Steps have been taken to bring down COVID medicine manufactured in the US. Price of vegetables in the market has decreased. Minister Mahindananda charges that vegetable prices were artificially increased. The President says unpopular decisions have to be taken when taking the country towards prosperity. An operations committee appointed for Sri Lanka Chartered Media Institute. Now on to those and more stories in detail. On today's top story, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has said that several unpopular decisions have to be taken in the future when taking the country towards prosperity, overcoming global economic challenges. The President emphasized although those will be criticized, its benefits will be received by the country and the people in the near future. The President said that he requested everyone work with the understanding about the country since economic relief can be obtained after overcoming short-term crisis. The President mentioned this during a Presidential Export Awards ceremony at the BMICH in Colombo today. The Presidential Export Awards, which was commenced in 1981, was held for the 24th time this year. The Presidential Awards are awarded for the highest contributions made by exporters for the betterment of the export field. 63 export companies were recognized related to the 2019, 2020 and 2020-21 financial years. A judge board under the chairmanship of retired Supreme Court Justice selected the award winners. The President commended the efforts and the commitment of exporters in the face of COVID-19 pandemic. The best exporters for the production diversification, up-and-coming market active exporters and up-and-coming exporter of the year have been introduced at this year's award ceremony. Additional criteria had been added apart from export earnings when selecting the best exporter for manufacturing services. Among them are value addition, employment generation, market diversification and growth of export income. The President handed over 24 awards.
Exports have now not only recovered to pre-pandemic levels, but have in fact reached record highs. I warmly commend all who contributed to this great accomplishment. Even as we celebrate the success of Sri Lanka's export performance tonight, however, we must also face the reality of our current situation. We are at a very challenging moment in our country's history. The COVID-19 pandemic has had devastating impact on Sri Lanka. The human cost of the pandemic was severe, with many lives lost and many more left bereft. Its economic consequences were also severe. During the first and second quarters of 2020, we had no choice but to place the entire country on a continuous lockdown for nearly 2.5 months. Although necessary for public health, this lockdown and the shorter ones that followed, combined with the global economic downturn resulting from the pandemic, affected nearly every sector of our country. Daily wage earners, self-employed persons, those engaged in cottage industries and in small and medium enterprises were all drastically affected. Many businesses shut down. Many individuals lost their livelihood and many families were pushed into poverty. The tourism industry, which had already suffered greatly after the Easter Sunday attacks, was completely devastated. Our extremely successful vaccination campaign, which has by now seen nearly 84% of those over age 16 being fully vaccinated, has also come at a significant financial cost. The pandemic continues to rage across many parts of the world. Some European countries are considering lockdowns in the weeks ahead to avert more deaths taking place on a large scale. This could affect the recovery of our tourism sector as well as global demand for our exports. Global supply chain constraints are also affecting nearly all industries today. Rapidly rising energy costs and freight costs are contributing to shortages and higher prices world over. In fact, global price levels have now reached record highs, with many regions experiencing their worst inflation figures in nearly 3 decades. The economic consequences of these ongoing issues will continue to impact Sri Lanka in the months to come. Managing this situation and keeping the country on the path to prosperity will require policy interventions, especially in the short term, that may be unpopular. Sri Lanka has amazing potential. It is blessed with abundant natural resources, an educated and productive workforce, and a geostrategic positioning we can greatly benefit from. The export of organic agriculture produce and developing value-added industries for our mineral resources are among many potential routes for Sri Lanka's exports expansion. Export diversification in Southeast Asian countries have greatly contributed to their improved economic performances over decades. There is no reason for Sri Lanka not to follow suit. The government and the private sector must work hand in hand to make this happen. The government will play its part by supporting and facilitating new initiatives proposed by the private sector and by providing attractive incentives for foreign direct investment into strategically important industries. We will also ensure that remaining impediments to the performance of export industries will be quickly resolved. One of the most significant issues Sri Lankan industries face is the high cost of energy. It is sad that despite being blessed with so many sources of renewable energy, so much of Sri Lanka's power is generated through fossil fuel and coal. This not only greatly increases the cost of power supply, but is also very harmful to the environment. That is why I have set a clear target for Sri Lanka to generate 70% of its energy from renewable sources by 2030. With a concerted effort by all stakeholders, it may be possible to achieve this target even earlier. As successful exporters, however, all of you have perhaps the most important role to play. You must use your experience, capability, financial strength, and your extensive international networks to create new export markets for existing Sri Lankan products and to create new Sri Lankan products for us to export. This will be essential for us to create a better future for all Sri Lankans.
Cabinet and state ministers, ministry secretaries, state officials, investors in the trade and export sectors were present on the occasion.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has instructed officials to take steps to give the third booster dose for all above 60 years through mobile services. He has given the instructions when the Special COVID Eradication Committee met this morning. It has been decided to give the booster dose for those above 60 years attending medical clinics at hospitals at the clinics itself. It will be given to persons after 3 months of getting the second dose. It was also decided to give the third dose for those above 20 years suffering from non-communicable diseases after 1 month of taking the second dose. Accordingly, cancer patients, those who are under treatment for cancer, organ transplanted persons, blood dialysis patients and persons with immunity deficiencies will be given the booster dose according to the recommendations of the doctors. Director General of Health Services Dr. Asayala Gunawardana said that the booster dose can be received from the relevant clinic or from the regional medical officer's office on Saturdays. Discussions took place on using Molnupiravir 1 medicine used for COVID patients. The President instructed State Minister Professor ChannelEye Rupavahini to take steps to import the medicine through the State Pharmaceutical Corporation. Minister Kelly Rambukwala, State Minister Sisira Jayakodi ChannelEye Rupavahini, Health Ministry Secretary Major General Dr. Sanjeev Munasinghe, Armed Forces Commanders, IGP, heads of security units and officials were present on this occasion. 30,064,842 vaccine doses have been given to the people under the COVID vaccination program. 50,919,195 have been given the first dose of a vaccine. 30,725,136 have been given both doses of a vaccine. 420,511 have been given the booster dose. Given the booster dose is continuing for people above 20 years with immunity deficiencies and for persons above 60 years. 488 COVID patients were found from the country today. 17,769 are undergoing treatment. 406 have recovered from the virus today. 528,806 have been recovered from the virus so far. Director General of Health Services confirmed today that 26 COVID-related deaths have occurred yesterday. 22 out of them are 60 and above 60 years. 3 of them are between 30 and 59 years and 1 person is below 30 years.
The Deputy Director General of Health Services, Dr. Hemant Herath, says that the public should strictly follow the COVID-19 health guidelines in order to avert another outbreak in the country.
We know that today many people are advertising and promoting today as a shopping day, and in many countries this day is considered as the beginning of the shopping season. And Sri Lanka also, in Sri Lanka, even though there was no such tradition up to now, gradually this tradition is gaining momentum. And we need to emphasize that shopping, especially in an unhygienic manner or without any regards to the health guidelines, will be an extremely dangerous affair. So therefore, I would like to request the public that it is very important to start your shopping as early as possible before getting the shopping complexes congested, and if the area is congested, it is better to refrain from going. But on the other hand, always try to do the shopping, only the essential shopping, and refrain from going to shopping malls or any other area unnecessarily. For if you can postpone it or refrain from going to the shopping complex, that will be the best thing. And the minimum number of people should go to the shopping complexes and get your things purchased as early as possible, quickly as possible, and leave the place, rather, so that your risk of getting the disease will be minimal.
It is reported that vegetable prices are decreasing in the marketplace. Traders say that Narayanpeta Economic Centre is receiving stocks of vegetables. Vegetable prices have increased rapidly during the past few days. Traders say that price of certain vegetable exceeded 600 rupees, but they say retail prices of vegetables is decreasing now. Vegetable prices at Tambutegama wholesale market have decreased. Chairman of the Economic Centre, Sunil Dissanayake, said that the prices could further decrease within the next few days. Minister Mahindananda Alutgamage expressed his views in the Parliament about the price of vegetables. Minister Mahindananda Alutgamage said that MP Nalin Bandara bought vegetables as an opposition member. His decision cannot be opposed. According to him, the price of vegetables has increased today due to chemical fertilizer and people cannot live. 1 kilogram of carrot is 250 rupees. 1 kilogram of cabbage is 230 rupees. 1 kilogram of leeks is 240 rupees and 1 kilogram of potatoes is 220 rupees. Price of vegetables which were to 400 rupees have been reduced. The minister questioned whether they gave chemical fertilizer within the 2 days. He said that the traders have increased prices. When the consumers stop purchasing, traders reduce prices. That is why vegetable prices are increased in November and December. Check the price of vegetables during this time compared with the last year. The rains have prevailed continuously for the last 3 months. Rain occurred for 23 days in Nuwara. Therefore, there was a reduction in produce. Therefore, the price of vegetables increased. Until October, chemical fertilizer needed by Nuwara, Badulla and Bandarawala were received. Fertilizer was sent by October to everyone. Therefore, do not level that allegation.
Agriculture Minister Mahindananda Alutgamage said in Parliament today that the Finance Ministry will issue the Gazette midnight today for the private sector to import chemical fertilizer. He mentioned this while taking part in the committee stage budget debate. The expenditure accounts of Agriculture and Irrigation Ministries were debated today. Parliamentarian Andrukumar Dissanayake said that for the first time in the country, fertilizer was brought by an airplane. 90,000 bottles of 500 millilitres were brought by a flight. He said that at the end, fertilizer was brought for higher prices. State Minister Shashindra Rajapaksa said that although 1.8 million bottles of 500 millilitre nano-nitrogen were needed for the Maha season, only 189,000 were brought to the country. Payments have been made for only 100,000 out of that. He said accusations are levelled by presenting false documents. All paddy fields of the Maha season have been cultivated. It has been possible to get the expected harvest, and he said that they expect to give an incentive for each 1 kilogram of paddy they produce.
පීඩන මැද අතිගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමා වෙනුවෙන් කුඹරට බස්ස හැම ගොවියෙකුටම තමන් නිෂ්පාදනය කරන සෑම වී කිලෝ එකකටම දිර්දීමනාවක් අපි ලබා දෙන්න මේ අවස්ථාවේදී මේ රටේ ගොවි ජනතාවට ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න මම කැමතියි. අද වී කිලෝ එක රුපියල් 80යි.
Minister Mahindananda Alutgamage said that today a kilogram of paddy is 80 or 90 rupees, which is the highest price received for paddy in the political history. Sri Lanka is the only country that speaks about destruction to agriculture in parliament due to organic agriculture. The only country that blames the government by trying to give food without toxins. The chemical fertilizer mafia made a huge investment. Doctors and environmentalists did not stand by the decision on green agriculture. Former president said that Mahindananda Alutgamage should be held responsible for all these after building a kidney hospital in his district.
Senior lecturer Mahinda Gunawardena says that Mr. D.A. Rajapaksa is living among us through the sons, daughters and grandsons and granddaughters who untiringly work for the future of the country and the people. He mentioned this while delivering a keynote address of the D.A. Rajapaksa Memorial Ceremony under the microorganisms that is not visible to us, which was held at the Temple Trees yesterday. It was held under the patronage of Mahasangha and the Anunayaka of the Malwatu chapter, Shamapali Vahinikaya, Mahanikaya, Venerable Dr. Niyangoda Dharmakirti, Sri Sangarakita Vijayasiri Thera, and other religious leaders. A 1 minute of silence was observed in memory of Mr. D.A. Rajapaksa and his wife and war heroes who sacrificed their lives in behalf of the country. Thereafter, Minister Rohita Gunawardena garlanded the statue of Mr. D.A. Rajapaksa. Former Zonal Director of Education A. Veeraratna paid floral tribute to the statue. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, First Lady Mrs. Ayoma Rajapaksa, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, Mrs. Shiranti Rajapaksa, Speaker Mahindayapa Abeyewardena, former President Maithripala Sirisena, Ministers Chamal Rajapaksa, Basil Rajapaksa, Dinesh Gunawardena, Professor G.L. Pires, Nimal Siripala de Silva, Rohita Gunawardena, Mahinda Amaravira, Douglas Devananda, State Ministers, Parliamentarians, governors, diplomats and a group of people were present at the ceremony. Chairman of the D.A. Rajapaksa Memorial Educational, Cultural and Social Services Foundation, Chamal Rajapaksa invited senior lecturer Mahinda Gunawardena to deliver the commemorative address.
State Minister Nala Gudaheva says that present in the budget to the Parliament, the Finance Minister has clearly outlined the desire of the government to get the private sector involved in the infrastructure development in the country. He made these remarks addressing the UDA Investment Forum 2021 today. Speaking at the UDA Investment Forum, State Minister Dr. Nalaka Gudaheva said that the government is looking forward to creating an investor-friendly environment with a focus on further attracting both local and foreign investors.
The second reading of the 2022 budget has just been passed in the Parliament with 2/3 majority. Present in the budget to the Parliament, the Finance Minister has very clearly outlined the desire of the government to get the private sector involved in the infrastructure development of our country. With such clarity in policy direction, this time we started discussion with potential investors. Today's investment forum has been organized for that purpose. Our ministry has access to a lot of land and properties that can be used for development purposes. We have access not only properties belong to our ministry, but also to the other ministries because we coordinate with them. We are continuously looking for potential investors for these properties. We are also looking at public-private partnerships, as our chairman mentioned, for these development purposes. There are many benefits to investors who are choosing us as their project partner. Access to land that are situated in prime locations across the country, access to necessary utilities and infrastructure, and also faster approval process for your projects would be some of them.
Today, we have a new challenge. We have had 5 years of declining growth from 2015 to 2019. 2020 was one of the toughest years since independence that we had to encounter, with COVID putting a huge dampener on us. We had a negative growth of 3.5%. 2021 was even a tougher year, with huge challenges of having to steer the country back from that difficult position, even while experiencing lockdowns. But we will have a near 5% growth this year. So that's the environment that we are working on. It's not an enviable environment. It's a tough environment. But all tough times provide us with opportunities as well. It is up to us to seize those opportunities. It is up to us to make use of any threat or any difficult period. There is a new adjustment that we can make to our economy. We have found that our foreign debt burden is somewhat tough for us to handle for the future. At the time that we had a $79 billion economy, our exposure to international sovereign bonds was only $5 billion, which was about 6% of our total ISBs to the GDP. But by 2019, it had risen to $15 billion of ISBs, and the economy had only grown up to $84 billion. So that put an enormous amount of stress to us. So how do we tackle that? We found that we had to have some clear strategies and implement those. One was to ensure that we change the debt structure. Some debts that we were having on a commercial basis, we are now shifting towards government-to-government loans or central bank to central bank swaps. That's one aspect of the debt being managed prudently. The other, we identified a new area which is to monetize some of the assets that were not being utilized for a long period of time. We know that the port city is a $1.4 billion investment. What you are envisaging is 4 times that. That's a massive investment. If that investment were to come and that lays the platform for the next wave of development in our country, the impact of that would be felt across all parts of our economy.
Hevalunuvillage Lasanta alias Tinka Lasa, who is suspected to have shot dead organized criminal Sunshine Sudha in Matara, has died in a police shooting this morning in Kalutara, Tiyagama. Kalutara Division Crimes Investigation Division has conducted a raid on information that organized criminal Tinka Lasa is staying at a house at Moruntudua. Police media spokesman SSP Nihal Taldu has said that on an information that the suspect has hidden a pistol and a live grenade at the house he was staying, police officers went to the place to find those, and the suspect has been killed during a shootout between him and the police officers. Two police officers have been injured and admitted to Kalutara District Hospital. Lasa, who is the main suspect of shooting to death Sunshine Sudha, is reported to have maintained contacts with Makandure Madush. It has been revealed that Sunshine Sudha was killed on a contract from Nadun Chintaka alias Harakata, who conducts drug rackets from Dubai. Police said there are 3 court cases for murder and 11 court cases related to robberies against Lasa. He is a resident of Matara, Kakanudara. Police Special Task Force arrested 2 persons, including a police officer, for engaging in a Kerala cannabis racket. Officers of Kadavata Gonahena camp have conducted a raid on a tip-off received by Senior SP in charge of Northwestern TJS Sylvester. Information about the police officer has been disclosed after questioning a 19-year-old suspect with more than 6 kilograms of Kerala cannabis in Mattakullia. The officer, who was on duty at Paliagud Expressway Police Checkpoint, is a resident of Varakapola. Police Special Task Force has seized 4 kilograms of Kerala cannabis from his possession.
Sri Lanka Chartered Media Institute Operations Committee has been appointed on a proposal made by Minister Dallas Allah Peruma to establish Sri Lanka Chartered Media Institute. The Chartered Media Institute will be established as a journalism of higher education, research and training institute, providing education from the certificate level to the postgraduate degree level. The objective is to create a professional media persons with higher vocational skills in order to create a quality journalism culture according to international standards. Media Ministry Secretariat Jagatveer J. Veera, Media Ministry Additional Secretary H. Hevage, Additional Director General of Government Information Department Milinda Rajpaksha, Legal Officer of the Media Ministry Eureka Vilaratna, Senior Lecturer of Kalani University Dr. Vijayananda Rupa Singha, Senior Lecturer of the Open University Dr. Madhubhashini Kalagedara, Senior Lecturer of Sri Lanka Foundation Institute Dr. Vijayanta Ukwatta, former Director General of Government Information Department Dr. Ranga Kalansurya, the Chairman of Sri Lanka Electronic Broadcasters Association Asanga Jayasurya, Deputy Secretary of Sri Lanka Editors Guild Mohanlal Piyadasa, Chief Editor of Associate Newspapers Ceylon Limited T. Senthil Vilava, Senior Journalist and Science Writer Nalaka J. Gunawardena and W. P. Sevanthi have been appointed as committee members.
The Winner magazine, compiled by the Entrepreneurship Communication Unit of the Sri Javadanapura University, was launched yesterday with the attendance of Ministers Nama Rajapaksa and Prasanna Ranatunga. The Winner magazine is based on the theme Education, Entrepreneurship Development and the Youth Contribution. Minister Nama Rajapaksa said that although we speak proudly about the country's history, the youth live without hope about the present and future. There's a problem whether the banking system has been changed to give assistance for entrepreneurship. More than 30 billion rupees have been allocated by the budget to develop entrepreneurship. In previous years, there was no identification of self-employed persons, entrepreneurship, and later changing them into investors. We believe that an interconnected network should be built in the country, and we expect to provide identified entrepreneurs with financial grants. And in your sports news tonight, the fifth and final day of the 57th Army Inter-Regiment Athletics Championship took place today at the Sugatadasa Stadium in Colombo. A stiff competition took place in the 200 meters women's event between Amasha and Medhani. Amasha won the race with a timing of 24.05 seconds. Medhani won the silver medal with a timing of 24.06 seconds. Aruna Darshana won the men's 200 event with a timing of 21.01 seconds. Dilshi Kumar Singh won the women's 800 meters. Harsha Karnaratna won the men's 800 meters event. The award ceremony of the Sri Lanka Army Inter-Regiment Chess Championship took place yesterday at Panagoda Army Camp. A large number of disabled war heroes took part in the championship, representing 16 regiments. The Army Medical Corps won the championship of the tournament. Corporal R.D.D.S. Dasanayaka won the first place of the competition.
That's it for tonight's English News Update. Thanks for joining us. Good night.
Good night.